Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes.
Welcome back to the Tailosive Space Podcast. This is Nick, your not co-host, and Mr. DJ here is the other co-host who is, in fact, a certified co-host. How are you doing, DJ?
I'm doing great. How about you, Nick?
You know, I've had better days, but also had way worse days. So this is just one of those days that feels like it could have gone a lot worse, but, you know, only most of a drone is broken. So that's how you know the day didn't... Nobody died and nothing got hurt except for the drone.
Yeah.
So could have been worse.
Man.
Well, unfortunately, given my track record of breaking equipment, I probably shouldn't be on station right now because last I checked, we got some astronauts doing some spacewalks on Wednesday and Sunday,
Yep.
and I'm pretty sure that they don't want those astronauts breaking any equipment because it's kind of expensive to get up there. Did you see that?
Yeah, that would, I don't know if they'd let you up there, Nick. I'm sorry.
Oh, man, I was really getting excited, but I guess I'll just have to buy a seat on one of Blue Origin's flights because they're so cheap.
Yeah, the $2.1 million seat at the moment. Yeah, go for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nothing major. Yeah, so we have two astronauts doing a U.S. side spacewalk. It's astronaut Shane and astronaut Thomas are going to be doing their lovely little spacewalk. They're going to be installing the the solar panels. This is what I'm looking for. The solar panels that went up on CRS-22. Those rollable solar panels. There are two of them, and so they're going to try to install one on Wednesday and another one on Sunday. So for you guys out there who enjoy watching a good NASA live stream in now 1080p with decent quality streaming, you can watch some nice spacewalks.
Did they update to 1080p?
They did. They sure did. On a lot of the cameras, I think a few of them are still at the 480p stuff.
Oh, I'm talking about the stream rate.
Oh, I don't know about the stream rate. The
Oh.
stream rate might be in 720.
Rip.
But the cameras are at least better than 480p at this point.
Well, that's good.
Most of them. I think there's still a few really old ones floating around there. But like most of the cameras now, since the last time I tuned in, they were like, I was like, oh, wow, this isn't 1980s anymore. Hello. Yeah, so we got that. It's always kind of fun to see a spacewalk, especially when you're tuning in live. You just don't listen in to the I guess Capcom or whatever they're calling the communicator person reading out all of the instructions. Turn this screw 20 revolutions at medium speed. It's just like all so thought through, and you're just like, wow, someone exactly.
That's too slow.
Count that up.
Too fast.
Well, you don't want to over tighten stuff, and you know it's all very, very well thought through. So I understand why they do it, but always very fun to watch that. Did you know that we just celebrated our 6-month anniversary of a very important date, DJ?
Really? What was that? I mean,
it's not our 6-month anniversary. We've been doing the show for over a year, so.
But I'm.
SN8 is what we're talking about, folks.
Oh,
Don't
man.
worry.
Time flies at this point.
SN8. It literally flies. Last I checked, SN8 did literally fly and also literally landed in a big ball of fire. But yeah, we have our 6-month anniversary since SN8 was, I guess, almost a week ago at this point. But since we've recorded this episode, it's the most recent one to that. So, congratulations to the SpaceX team. I mean, it's obviously crazy to think like SN8. In one moment, SN8 feels like an eternity ago on like the scale of where we've come from. But also, it feels like SN8 was just yesterday, kind of all at the same time. I'm really conflicted about this milestone. Have you had any conflicting space-time continuum thoughts?
Well, I mean, it's like, that was 6 months ago. How long ago was SN10? How long ago was SN11? How long ago was SN15?
5 months and 4 months and 2 months at this point, I think.
Like,
So-
it feels like it's just compressed,
Kinda
kind
crazy.
of.
Yeah, when we look over at Blue Origin and they're like, yeah, we've done 15 tests in the past 6 years.
This is a video of them running.
Step by step. Not very ferociously.
Yeah.
Yeah, so actually I did one of the bigger topics which I don't even think we wrote down on our pre-flight notes here, but I did want to talk about a little bit of Blue Origin. Obviously, we do have the news that the founder of Amazon and Blue Origin himself, Mr. Jeff Bezos, richest man on Earth, is going to be flying on the first Blue Origin crewed mission, which is just a suborbital test lasting about 20 minutes. At first, I was really excited, and I still am. Like, it's really great that we got more companies going to space, especially private companies. But the more I looked into it, and maybe not have watched a YouTube video, the more I realized that Blue Origin's kind of moving kind of slow.
Yeah.
And I guess everyone needs to move at their own pace. I understand that. SpaceX is going at a different pace. ULA is going at a different pace. SLS is not going, but everyone needs to go at their own pace, so I understand that part. But also I got to say, like, Blue Origin has been working on the New Glenn rocket for literally over a decade at this point, and they've had flight tests for the past 6 years. The first suborbital flight test was in 2015. And they've done a few flight tests every year. Some years only one flight test. I think the maximum was like 5 in a different year. It just feels like they're very slow, and I get it. That's their pace. But you also got to compare them to what SpaceX is doing and kind of see what's going on. So New Glenn is really small, right?
Yeah, it's like barely just over the height of whenever the Falcon 9 landing legs are folded up. It's just barely over the height of the landing legs.
Wow.
So
it's
tiny.
Big Falcon 9 is. I think it's about the same size as the second stage.
No, second stage is actually
Falcon
bigger.
9. Oh, second stage is.
Yes,
second
stage
in
is
diameter
bigger.
wise.
No, diameter and length.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So yeah, it's this tiny little rocket, and no rocket is easy. Ask Rocket Lab, the smallest little rocket, very complicated machinery, of course. But you just got to see, like, SpaceX was doing kind of what Blue Origin's hoping to do, even surpassing that with Falcon 1 back in 2006 through 9.
Yeah.
And
because that was intended to be orbital to begin with.
Yeah, they were always orbital. SpaceX has never made a suborbital rocket. And so, I mean, some of them ended up being suborbital, and I guess you could say most of the SN test vehicles were suborbital, so maybe I should retract that statement. But at least on a Falcon scale, they weren't planning on doing many suborbital tests. And if that's their mission, then great. If they want to be the world's best suborbital rocket company, then all the power to you, Blue Origin. But when they're talking about the new rocket that they want to make, which is the not New Shepard, New Glenn, that rocket is supposed to be about the same size as Falcon 9. And it just feels like this huge jump in scale, and there's not a lot of development time into this New Glenn rocket. We've had so much time spent on the New Shepard rocket that it kind of makes me wonder, as the New Glenn rocket starts to get its production going, are they going to take another 6 years on New Glenn? And at that point, according to Elon, we're already going to be on Mars. So, I don't know.
I mean, it's just kind of, they're going slow because they don't have any goal they're going towards. It seems like.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah.
Their 5 flights in a year was in like 2017 or something like that.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
SpaceX has done
that.
more flights this year with the Falcon 9 than they have the entire time. So.
That is kind of crazy. And, you got to say Falcon 9's kind of in its heyday right now, so, they're no longer in development. But even I guess when you just compare how fast SpaceX is going versus how fast Blue Origin is going, you just got to say, where's the ferociously? I get you're going step by step here, Blue Origin, but I'm not seeing the ferociousness. And hopefully we're surprised. And best of luck to Blue Origin. I really hope we can have more competition. Like what's the new 3D printed rocket that's gonna be
Astra.
competing with Falcon 9's mass? Whatever. The name is skipping on me, but it's the new 3D printed one they just announced. It's gonna be the size of Falcon 9, but fully reusable like Starship and looking a lot like Starship.
Oh, Terran R is whatever that
Terran
is.
R.
That's the name
right.
of the rocket.
Thank you. That's it. So they're all hypothetical right now, right? They don't have all that much hardware to prove themselves. Their initial smaller rocket still hasn't launched. But it's you gotta think here, like, okay, Blue Origin has taken 6 years of testing after they have this design kind of melted in stone. It's almost like, for you software engineers out there, it's almost like Blue Origin is using the waterfall method and SpaceX is using the agile method of software development. And it can be taken to just about any business practice or industry. But Blue Origin wants to think everything through and have it all planned out before they start touching any metal or making any carbon fiber, anything. They want to have it all planned out, which has worked for many companies historically, but that's not how you do fast growth. Fast growth is almost exclusively derived by an agile workflow where you're continuously improving. You're getting feedback from tests, literally and hypothetically, and iterating your design. Like the Falcon 9, when it had its first test, it had a whole different booster configuration. Like the rockets were mounted in like a tic-tac-toe.
Yeah, it was like a square at that point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And like they changed that pretty quick because they found a more efficient, more flexible design. And Blue Origin, I guess they might have the perfect design that doesn't need any changes, but I find that very difficult to believe. And everything can be iterated upon, and we see that with software and computers and phones every year. They're always iterating. I feel like at this point, if they had planned to use, say, the equivalent of a Raspberry Pi in some subsystem in 2015, imagine if they redesigned this in 2021. What kind of a, given the chip shortage maybe, but given what kind of stuff could they be doing now with today's technology? Like 6 years is a long time, and especially in the technology space. So I don't know. We'll see what Blue Origin is able to do. And obviously, it's a very well-tested rocket, so much so that Jeff Bezos is risking his life.
Yeah, I just... When I think about Blue Origin, I don't think about anything progressive in the rocket space. Like, even ULA I think of as progressive in the rocket space because they're Vulcan rocket. I mean, it's slow in its development, but I mean it's almost time for it. So I mean they that what was like about a month and a half ago or something like that, they had the test bed for it. So
the Pathfinder.
Yeah, the Pathfinder, and it went down to the Cape. Yes, we've seen some New Shepard or no, not New Shepard, New Glenn. New Glenn.
There's like a fairing and part of a tank.
Yeah, and then we saw like the bottom part of the rocket as well. It's like, but we've seen that from the doors being opened slightly whenever they might not have been supposed to, or then no cameras were around. But we know nothing really about this. It's not exciting at this point.
And it's not that everything needs to be exciting in rocketry. I'm more looking for this company to succeed. And I guess at the end of the day, Blue Origin has something that no other rocket company has ever had. And that's literally billions of dollars at its fingertips. Elon might be worth almost as much as Jeff Bezos, but Elon's wealth is not as liquid because most of it's in SpaceX and most of it's in Tesla. Yeah. Okay, he could divest entirely in Tesla and give that money to SpaceX, but I guess Jeff Bezos is probably in a different state of mind. He's made his literal world's largest fortune with Amazon. He's stepping down as CEO. He's kind of seeming to, and it's fine. He can liquidate his stuff, and obviously keep some of it. But like Blue Origin has like infinite money at this point. Like,
I mean, the dude's buying yachts and stuff like that just for fun, and Elon is living in a house down in Boca Chica Starbase that he's renting from SpaceX that's worth $50,000. So I mean, put it into perspective, Elon's not divesting anything. He's not diluting any of his shares or anything like that because he wants to keep control. Meanwhile, Bezos, he's just like, let's go.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and like that's very good for Blue Origin, but I kind of think that infinite bank account is kind of a hindrance to them almost, because what SpaceX had to do. There's many times during the Falcon 1 program where Elon was like out of money, out of time. They had the Falcon 1 Test 4, that was their last rocket hardware, tossed together. They had 8 weeks to do it before they ran out of payroll. Like, that is where the energy from SpaceX came from, I think. Yeah. The energy and the culture of SpaceX came from being on a shoestring budget, saying, hey, we only have a year worth of pay what can we do in this year or whatever. Like they knew that they couldn't just keep dragging their feet, which honestly I think is part of the reason why some of these big government contracts get so bloated, right? You have the space shuttle, perfect example. It's like, okay, I'm not going to mention SLS because I'm a nice guy today, but the space shuttle, it's like, okay, this is going to cost, be a super affordable and quick and easy reusable way to space. $1.2 billion later per launch, you got to say, okay, there's just no incentive for anyone to move quickly or to be cost effective. Yeah. And I kind of see that trend in Blue Origin where they know whether or not they get the NASA contract or the DoD contracts or even commercial contracts, which they're not because they don't have any orbital rockets yet. Not even like in production at the moment. They're just still thinking about it. Just pushed back 2 years. They just know that their sugar daddy Jeff Bezos is going to write whatever check needs to happen, and that just means that there's no pacing. There's no urgency.
Not to hate on anybody that works there or anything like that, but I wonder I wonder how many of them just like see that and just like no rush. They're just sitting back relaxing at work. I mean, work is not supposed to be.
I don't think that's on the individual engineer level.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're all working as hard as they can. I think it's the whole senior management company's mindset of that urgency.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
But it's like how many of them have the idea of like we're not in a rush for anything. We got all the time that we want because it's like we're just still doing tests. I mean, we've done so many of these. What's next to test? What can we slowly redesign or anything like that? It's just I don't see a goal is what it is.
Yeah, that's a good point. No goal. And I wouldn't say it's the engineer's fault. I think it's the management who's setting the timelines. If the management had that urgency of financial pressure of needing to be able to deliver and deliver quickly, they would be setting the goals a lot quicker and sooner and incentivizing the very skilled engineers. Some of the best engineers work at Blue Origin out there. And so, their engineering is great. They just need better goals and likely not use the waterfall workflow and switch to more of an agile development. So,
and
anyway, all the best luck to Blue Origin though. Still, no hate, just critiquing, I guess.
And something I didn't know until today when I watched that video you sent me is I thought Bezos was the CEO of Blue Origin. There's another dude named Bob Smith. I've never heard of in my life.
Yep.
So, of course, he was CEO since 2017, but I'm like, I've never heard of this dude in my life.
Yeah, he's not out there like Elon or the ULA guy.
No.
So how do you think they could rectify this? Like, besides like a huge culture shift, like Blue Origin needs to be able to compete with SpaceX. Starship is coming out soon.
Yeah.
That's another news item here. But Elon keeps saying 4 to 6 years. He said that for 4 to 6 years. But we're getting to the point where we're probably looking at 4 to 6 years.
Yeah. Other than the option that was in that video we watched, it's have a goal in mind, an actual productive goal, not just a cookie cutter. Let's do the same launch that we have the past 6 years kind of goal. Get New Shepard up and going in the next 2.5, 3 years, something like that. Have a launch.
Yeah.
Put that in the mindset. Make it public, some of the stuff that you're doing. I mean, SpaceX is a very different company when it comes to how they interact in the launch business, but that gets people excited. That gets people seeing what's going on. That gets the team members excited because people see what is going on and they're excited about it. So the team members get excited. Blue Origin's just kind of sitting there in the public eye. It's nothing going on that we see.
Yeah.
So I think excitement from the public and exciting the engineers is actually a good thing to do.
And also having that ability to say we have this overarching goal. Elon's big goal is getting to Mars, right? And so every single decision that anyone at SpaceX is making, even down to the probably janitors who, by the way, back in the day, janitors were the engineers. You know, it wasn't like SpaceX had all the money. So, but like all of the decisions in that company are focused towards this. Does this get us to Mars sooner or later? It's a binary decision. Very simple for anyone to understand, even me, who I'm not very smart. I can be like, is this going to get us to Mars sooner or later? And you always pursue the option that gets you towards that goal.
Yeah.
And Blue Origin's stated goal is to get more people to space. And that just feels like a very ambiguous goal. Like, okay, define space. I mean, technically, the suborbital flight here is going to be above the carbon line, so they're going to be getting people to space. Define people. How many people? Like, is this going to be 6 people in a little pod, or is it going to be, Earth ships with like hundreds of thousands of people? Like, I want to see that future, and
that would be amazing.
I think it's coming at some point. We're going to get that at some point, but it's how many lifetimes we're going to have to wait for it. And at Blue Origin space, it's going to be quite a few.
Yeah. I would love to see all of their dreams and stuff like that they have in the long run come true, because they are amazing. O'Neill cylinders. I mean, that is a.
Oh yeah.
We know the term the great filter. Being able to do something like that is passing a great filter. It's physically it's possible.
Yeah.
Physically,
There's
now
no
with what we
physics
can
against.
have and what we can do, it's not.
Yeah.
So like, I would love to see their dreams become reality and build stuff in space, build these O'Neill cylinders. But we're looking at like 100 years out in the road for that at this point.
Especially at the current pace.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just think, like, SpaceX has tested half as many test articles as Blue Origin has over the past year that Blue Origin has over the past 6 years.
Yeah.
So, like, okay, there's just that lack of pressure. And I think it boils down to financial. Now, a solution that this guy proposed in a video that we were referencing, and I kind of think is interesting, at least enough to have a discussion about, possibly not a great idea. But what if Jeff Bezos just bought ULA? Just like gave him $5 billion and just bought ULA.
Yeah.
That would help Blue Origin in a couple ways. They'd get talent. They'd get a bunch of already working rockets, because that's one of Blue Origin's biggest problems. They can't get any contracts because they don't have any rockets right now that do anything that's useful. And so it would get them contracts. Basically, it would get them you'd get the Starliner program, right? So you could have the prestige of flying humans to the ISS.
Yeah, they would be able to fly it, but they wouldn't get as much prestige. Well, I say prestige very loosely, because I mean Boeing's been so far behind, but it's still Boeing that would be getting that.
Yeah. But just like Falcon 9 is now a cruise certified launcher, so it's a little bit better when you're setting your satellite up to say, oh yeah, this is the same rocket that Bob and Doug flew a few months ago. It's like, okay, that's like a little bit of a selling point, I guess. And ULA is going to have that honor pretty soon to say, hey, this is a cruise certified launcher that is as reliable as we know how to make rockets. And if you stick your satellite / humans on this, there's this chance of failure, which honestly sounds higher when you say it out loud, but or sounds low when you say it out loud, but it is fairly high in the grand scheme of things that we do every day. But yeah, so I don't know. It's an interesting thought experiment to be like, yeah, well, what if Jeff Bezos just bought ULA? Now I don't know if ULA would sell and whatever, but like, it might fix some of the issues that we're seeing here.
Yeah, and some of the issues of like buying it would be, I mean, it's Boeing and Lockheed Martin, I believe is the two that is together in ULA, which is a separate company, but it's completely owned by the two. So it's like, if they could pry it away from Boeing and Lockheed Martin's cold dead hands, then here's another thing to think about. How would this structure look? So, I mean, you don't want to ruin a perfectly good, reliable, like high-risk satellite launcher program with ULA's rockets. And then the new rocket that they're coming out with, Vulcan, that is very promising in specs. and doing some very different things, which is also using Blue Origin's BE4 engines. So
Yep.
what the thing is, you don't want to ruin what they have. So if they actually were able to do it and buy ULA, you'd want to still see ULA kind of function as their own selves with their current programs, and then see Blue Origin borrowing all the technology, all the engineering smarts, all the experience that they have, and build into their rockets. But I have to say, one of the biggest things, if they did do it, one of the biggest go-tos, is Tory Bruno.
Totally.
Get rid of Bob Smith. Get Tory Bruno in there. He'd make everybody excited.
I think so. I love him. That totally. Need some Bruno action, and get their butts into action. And okay, whatever. They're a company. They're allowed to do what they want, and I know the engineers are doing real good value stuff there. So I don't want to discount any of that, but I think this is a good conversation to have, to say, well, let's juxtapose these two.
Juxtapose.
That was a bad. I've only done like 3 shows today. Let's look at these two different companies that are, they look on the surface the same, right? When you see out of context and scale, Blue Origin's New Shepard and Falcon 9, a lot of times they kind of look kind of close to each other in size. Unfortunately, it's not the case. But if we tear apart and compare these two companies and look to why is one pretty successful now and why is one possibly going to be successful in the future, we can see how different these companies operate. One is still cash strapped. SpaceX is spending so much money on the Starlink network that they're not doing well, at least what internal people have said. They're still relying on investor funding and stuff, which is fine, and they're not going anywhere, but they're still cash strapped. And compare that with Blue Origin, who has an infinite pocket to pull from. Almost $70 billion pocket to pull from, or 130 or something. I don't know. I haven't checked recently. Lots of billions.
Yeah.
Anyway, interesting discussion. What else do we got here?
Let's see. A couple of little short tidbits. We got GPS 3 going up in 2.5 days as of recording on Monday the 14th. And then Transporter 2 is in 8. So Transporter 2 is, of course, the second of SpaceX's dedicated rideshare missions. And I read off all those last week or whatever it was.
Yep.
A lot of those.
We don't have to do that again.
No.
All 50 of them.
No. But you know how we lost one ship of the SpaceX fleet?
Then we lost both of the fairing catcher ships, right?
Yeah, we lost
Go
those.
Miss Chief and Go Miss Tree.
Yeah, and then we got another one, which was Board Elon, as I like to call it.
Yep. Yeah, Board Elon.
Sheila Board Elon. And then we lost her. And then on top of that, we're seeing a drone ship kind of go away. Sad news.
Yep.
It's only going to the West Coast.
Yeah.
So we're not losing it completely. But yet again, we have another new ship.
Yay! Celebration time!
Woohoo! So this is
a really weird ship.
Yeah.
This is probably the weirdest ship I've ever looked at.
Yeah.
You want to describe it visually?
All right. So imagine an oil rig if you've seen one, and how they have the massive helipad just kind of sticking off the side.
Mm-hmm.
And plop that on the front of a boat.
Okay.
And then a big boat. And then
big boat.
Take I don't know, a few rows high of container houses, and then a few of them wide. Plop that in the center of the boat.
Okay.
And then have that much space left in the back still left over for an actual recovery deck of some sort. And then a massive crane on a ship. So I don't know if that was very good, but I think
it was good.
This ship is huge compared to the other ships that we've seen so far for recovery vessels, and even compared to Go Searcher and Go Navigator, it's still big.
Mm-hmm.
It's bigger than those. So it's as of today, it did a it just got back from a 2-day quick run sea trial, and this will be a new fairing recovery vessel. And I don't know why they're going this big.
Yeah, I gotta wonder why they have so many crew quarters. Like the last missions were measured in days.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder if SpaceX is going to send this. What is it called? Hoy's Barwood.
Haas Briarwood.
Haas Briarwood. There you go. Thank you. Let me find that. Haas Briarwood. If they were to send this out for not just missions in days of duration, but for like weeks of duration.
Yeah.
And pick up 4 or 5 sets of fairings.
Yeah.
I think that that's kind of what this ship is designed for. If you look, it has a helipad. The only time it makes sense to helicopter any crew out or anybody out is when you're too far away from shore to have a tender boat, but also out there for too long to make sense to just wait to come back.
Yeah.
So if they put like a legit helipad in front of this boat, it kind of feels like this is going to be out there similar to an oil rig, because that's what that scale of a helipad normally has. You know, the oil rigs stay out in the oil field and they shuttle out new workers, and so that's how they do it. And I kind of am getting the feeling that this boat is going to be at sea more than it's in port, which is awesome, because that saves a lot of gas, carbon emissions, and time, because it is a long 600-mile trek. You know, these boats only go, you know, maybe 10 to 15 knots.
Yeah.
So
it ain't fast. That's
that trip takes days. And so, you know, in order to schedule that all out, you know, especially when they have close back-to-back you know, missions and stuff. That's why sometimes they haven't been able to recover fairings. They've just kind of dumped them in the ocean because they didn't have a recovery vessel available when the launch window was there. So I think having this just bobbing around out there is going to be pretty interesting.
So to clear it up, we don't know for sure that this big area in the midship is actually crew quarters. It could be like science quarters and stuff like that. We don't really know, but I mean, either way, it's still massive. It's got a lot of crew quarter space, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But if you kind of take a look, I mean, you can't really see the beam of the ship very well in the photos that I've been looking at. But still, I would imagine
it looks to be at least a 15 to 20 meter beam.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big ship.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming,
and that's the width of a ship.
Yeah.
In meters.
It should probably be good for at least 2 sets of fairings, maybe 3 sets of fairings if they're picking all of them up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of why I think it's going to be out there for a while. We could be very wrong, and Elon might just be bored with the ships and want to kind of go through ships until he finds a good name. I guess whoever proposed bored Elon kind of might have gotten fired for that one and got rid of that ship and brought in a new one.
Yeah, lovely. Poor guy.
But it's a massive ship. 2 or 3 launches worth of fairings is what I'm assuming it's going to be picking up at a time.
That makes sense.
So
it's crazy big.
Oh, what about the picture that I sent you?
The joke picture? Yeah. So we'll see if post-production Nick remembers to do something at 33 minutes.
I hope so.
Yeah, let me get my paper out here. If you want to describe it, why don't you do that while I make a note here?
So we have a large section on the back of the ship and a large helipad on the front of the ship. So somebody decided to Photoshop 2 Falcon 9s sitting on the helipad and the back of the ship. Now, they're definitely not to scale, and there's no way that helipad could actually hold a Falcon 9, even dry mast.
Yeah.
But, you know,
landing impact.
Falcon Heavy, I guess there's just not enough Delta V for the second stage, so they've got to send this boat out there where a normal drone ship is to catch 2 Falcon 9s at once, and then send the other drone ship way further out.
Oh boy. I only wish it's a joke, by the way, guys.
It's absolutely
this is not to scale. Like the you would barely be able to see the landing legs in that picture. Those rockets are not to scale with the boat. But it's a funny thought experiment. Like, what if they had just this huge mobile platform that could just take 2 at a time?
See, originally I
Pretty
thought
funny.
when they were gonna, when they had both of the drone ships out there on the East Coast and then bringing in a third, I thought eventually they were gonna have a Falcon Heavy launch where they did land 2 of them downrange, and then the other one at least attempt it way downrange. But I mean, it never. That's something that probably was never in their thought process.
Yeah.
But either way, I would have loved to see that. And this just was. I thought this was a pretty funny picture.
Yeah.
I just kind of stumbled across that one.
100% on the entertainment value for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's fun. Down in Boca, we had a test this past weekend. Weekend time is irrelevant at this point. Sometime in the most recent past, BN 2.1 had its pressure test. I believe it was Tuesday, if I'm remembering correctly, of last week. They pressure tested it with liquid nitrogen, which is an inert gas, which is also cryogenic. And so they were able to pressurize it to an unknown test value. It looks like it passed, though, because BN 2.1 survived. And it looks like they're doing more tests this week, starting tomorrow through, I believe, Thursday or Friday. We have some road closures scheduled, so there's going to be some more BN 2 testing in the near future. We'll see what SpaceX said. We haven't got any official word. I think it's kind of weird because normally most of the time when we have one of these pressure tests, Elon will tweet out, like, BN 2.1 test, thumbs up, or, we reached 30 bar or whatever, that's quite a bit. But anyway, we reached this milestone, 7 bar.
Woo, something really changed. 30 bar.
Hey, it is for the booster. I was thinking of the Raptor chamber pressure, which is 300 bar. So yeah. Anyway, so that happened. That's pretty cool. But what I think that this is really all leading into is our big orbital test, which has been rumored for a long time to happen over the summer.
Yep.
That's kind of been the general target that we've been working towards. And this BN 2.1 test tank is a validating model for the full BN 2 or Booster 2 stack. We don't call it BN 2, we call it Booster 2 because we hate ourselves in the space community. So Booster 2 is using the it's anyway, it's a little bit different domes on each side of Booster 2, and BN 2.1 was there to test that out and make sure it's good. So assuming BN 2.1 is good, Booster 2 is on track for some pretty epic stuff. Now, I think this is where we have to say this is now no longer a news show. This is now a DJ Nick speculation show, but for legal reasons, everything I've ever said is a joke.
Speculation.
News is over. Speculation time. Get out your tinfoil hats, ladies and gentlemen. Let us dive deep into some tweets. Whoosh. So, we noticed a tweet in preparing for this podcast because we are professionals who prepare for stuff and research all of our facts.
We definitely don't
Miss
wait till
Gwendolyn,
last minute.
Yeah, no, we don't wait for a few minutes before at all. We stumbled across this video, which has probably one of the most exciting pieces of news that I've seen in months. SN19 was probably the last piece of exciting news that was this exciting. Yeah. And this is 100% speculation. It could all just be a joke. It could all just be we're misinterpreting something. So take this with a huge salt mine of salt. But here is Nick and DJ's best guess at what's going on here. So Miss Gwendolyn Shotwell, and at this point I'm already editing the show, so we'll add another note
might as well.
For 38 minutes. We'll add this nice video in post. You're probably watching this nice video of Gwendolyn walking around.
I'll make sure to go ahead and send you this image as well.
Thanks. Yeah, so Miss Gwendolyn Shotwell is giving a presentation to Northwestern University, kind of looks like a commencement speech or something. I don't know. I don't quite know what the context is, but the point is she gave this speech just a couple of, well, we don't know when it was recorded. All right, backing up. She gave this speech. It was released today as we're recording it on Monday, June 14th. It was likely recorded. My best guess is maybe 1 to 2 days ago. I don't think they would sit on this stuff very long. Gwendolyn has a very busy schedule, so they're probably just like, hey, Northwestern, her alma mater, needs a little video from you. She's like, okay, cool. They did it. They sent it off. Yeah, I feel like this is probably a pretty quick turnaround time. I don't think that this is sitting around. So the reason why the timing is important here is as we look at the picture, we see her walking down this big hallway inside of Hawthorne, the SpaceX Hawthorne factory. And there are kind of two angles. There's like this nice dolly shot, which looks like it's well shot, and DJ and I, being production geeks, we noticed that. And there's also this kind of profile shot just on a handheld cam that's also kind of panning to follow her. And during this video, they cut back between the profile shot and the main shot. And in the profile shot, I'm describing this for the audio listeners who didn't get a chance. I know you video people are like, I just saw this. Why are you describing it? Anyway, that's why I'm doing this. But on the profile shot, we see in the background this huge, probably 60-inch TV with an infographic on it. And we get to see two very brief shots of this infographic, not in its totality, but together we can put the pieces together. Again, this is salt, mine of salt, and aluminum foil hats time. So the very first image that we get to see is it says Starship Orbit, and it gets cut off, and then Engines, and it gets cut off, and it says underneath that 25 days, 7 hours, and 30 minutes. And then next to that, it has a graphic of how the configuration of all the Raptor engines is going to be on the booster, the big booster. We have 9 in the center, and then 20 around in a ring. And the 9 in the center are green, and the 20 around the ring are white. Okay, so if you are listening to this, it might be better if you pull up this tweet. It's from SpaceX 360. I'm sure he's pinned it because it got a like from Elon. But we'll also have this in the video show as well.
That's another thing about this tweet so far. Elon liked it.
Literally, Elon Musk liked this tweet. So, and the tweet was specifically pointing out the fact that there's a countdown of 25 days in the background.
Yes.
So we see this nice picture, and then she talked for about 10 seconds, and then we cut back to this profile shot, and we get to see the other side of the board. And on the other side of the board, this is where it gets totally interesting. Like 25 days was really cool, which, by the way, that's July 9th, if assuming all of our math is adding up. 25 days, it will be about July 9th is the target that this board is counting down to, which, by the way, they have minutes and seconds, so that's oddly specific. But then on this other side, we see what totally blew my mind. We see the Starship configuration of the Raptor engine. So we see 3 sea-level Raptors and 3 MVAC Raptors, which are designed for the vacuum of space. And they are set up in a configuration that we've been expecting to see, the 3 close together in the center, which can gimbal, and then 3 outside, which we kind of know at this point looking at the thrust puck. But what's interesting here is the 3 vacuum-optimized engines are white, and 1 of the sea-level Raptors is white as well, and the other 2 are green, which then makes me wonder is what's the difference between green and white in this graphic. So this is now where the speculation continues. DJ.
So originally in the first half of the video, I thought green meant gimbaling until Nick pointed out to me that there was a sea-level that was white. So there's 2 trains of thought here at this point. Either the white ones are finished and the green ones are what's left, which somebody did the math, and if every engine takes 48 hours to build, then these 11 engines ends up being like 22 days to build, and that fits within the 25-day timeline. The other school of thought is the green ones are the ones that are done, and then you have like 24 engines versus 11.
Mm-hmm.
So...
which seems more unlikely.
Yeah.
Given the 25-day timeline.
Yeah, so either they're doing a whole lot faster than 2 days per engine, or we're not really understanding this graph very well, and then the whites are actually the ones that are finished.
That's more likely. Yeah, so I will also say here real quick, this isn't an internal. This is verified, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
A, this is Gwendolyn Shotwell walking in front of it inside SpaceX. B, we have seen a very blurry, very far away shot of this exact graphic in the NASA Crew 2 launch coverage, Crew 1 launch coverage. Which one was that?
Crew 1 return.
Crew 1 return coverage. And so we saw this graphic in the background, very blurry, very small, but we can see it now that we have a close-up. We can compare that. It is the same graphic.
Yeah. And
also, Elon has liked this tweet also.
So in this Crew 1 return graphic, I went to the Crew 1 live stream, and I found a spot where I can see this screen in the background. It was, of course, streamed through NASA, so 720p. It's not SpaceX with their 4K live streams like they've been doing recently. So all I could see was very, very, very like. He put the image up for this. The circles that show the Raptors, the pixels were about half the size or quarter of the size of the actual Raptors. But in the image from what I saw, I don't see any green in Starship, but I do see green in Super Heavy. So my train of thought is that the green are the actual ones that are completed.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that makes the most sense given that the timeline adds up with the 25 days for the white ones that still need to be finished.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is really exciting, and I should also say this is an internal Raptor team goal. It looks like. I don't think that the Starship orbital, something we can't read, engines, is the countdown for that is probably not for the day that we're planning to lift off. That's probably the delivery day that the Hawthorne employees need to finish up the Raptor stuff to send it to McGregor, because McGregor needs to do some testing on all these, and then we need to obviously get them integrated into the Starship. But having this be like less than a month away is kind of mind-blowing to me. Like, I don't know. Like, I've just been thinking, oh yeah, that's like at the end of the summer, August, probably going. Elon will move into September for the orbital test here. But like, no, their goal is to have all the Raptors done early July, which then gives them like all July to do testing and integration before we even get to August. Yeah. And I'm extremely optimistic seeing this. I got giddy, and I still am giddy because this is happening soon.
Yeah. I mean, even if it does all get down there and gets ready to go up in August, I mean, that's still a month and a half away.
Yeah.
Like, this timeline that we're seeing happen is unbelievable.
It ain't no Blue Origin.
Not by far. So, I mean...
Actually, okay, hold on. One more thing. Maybe we need to backtrack what we just said there. So, I am looking again at this video. I'm picking up on more details. I feel like such a conspiracy theorist, just like looking for every single little possible detail. I mean, that's kind of what I'm doing right now. So, the title here is Starship Orbit, we see on the first half. And then when we go to the second half, it says launch. So, I think that says Starship Orbital Launch. And then we have a countdown. So maybe this isn't an internal Raptor team goal.
Man, I don't know.
I don't know how they can do it in 25 days, but that's what it says. Starship Orbital Launch Engine something.
Like, are they just throwing everybody that they have down in Boca Chica at every single thing that they need to get going for just this one launch, and then throwing everybody in the Raptor production at it? And everybody else that they can?
I guess. I don't know. This is too exciting. Engines. Yeah, I think the one word that we're missing here that we can't see is the important one. It's the one underneath the word launch, which is just too small to read. And it's Starship Orbital Launch, and then underneath it says engines, plural, and then I think it starts with an S, the next word. So I don't know.
Yeah, in this other graph that I sent you, somebody has speculated and put it as shipped. So the clear graph that I sent you that somebody remade.
Engine shipped, yeah, okay.
Which would make sense. But
again,
man,
speculation town.
But the fact that the production team knew that was there and they still filmed this video, and then Elon liked it. So Elon's just toying with us here at this point.
Totally.
Like,
totally.
This is
Elon
his fun.
The tweet speculating, hey, why does this say 25 days? Not the tweet of Gwendolyn doing the
because this wasn't
thing.
even posted by SpaceX. So
no, this was posted by Northwestern University. So really, really, really fun speculation here. At the very best case scenario, we'll have a full stack orbital test on July 9th. I think it's kind of unlikely. Actually, I think that's extremely unlikely. Even if that is the goal, I think they're going to be at least a week and a half, 2 weeks late, just knowing SpaceX.
Yeah.
But I think at the very worst, we're looking at early August at this point. No longer late August for the test.
Yeah.
because if they're going to be done with Raptors in 25-ish days, okay, give them another 3 or 4 days. Say they miss the target, if they're anywhere ready around 25 days from now, then that gives McGregor team enough time to do tests and integration team to integrate, and then do maybe some static fires even, I don't know, in late July, really early August. It's coming up. It got real. Like, I feel like all summer we've kind of been like, all right, now that SN15's over, we're just working on ground support equipment until the end of summer when we have all our Starship stack fully, and it's here. It's now. Yeah. It's coming. It's crazy. Yeah. Woo! Any other speculation you want to add to
that? Elon, stop messing with us. Give us some more like tangible evidence.
Well, I should say one more thing I just thought of. They were filming. They had cameras inside of a very secured rocket factory. The government is extremely concerned about our rocket technology and its national security implications, and so now I am thinking 100% production crew is worried with what was in the background. Like, they had to probably remove tools and make sure that there wasn't plans to the inner workings of a Raptor or Merlin engine in the back. So I 100% know that they knew consciously that this was going to be in frame, that this was in frame. This was pre-recorded. This wasn't live, so they could have cut this and refilmed it, or blurred it out even. Okay, now I'm 100% sure that this meant to get out.
They could have pulled an Intel and screen replaced it.
Yes, with the worst screen replacement job ever. Just a meme. Just one of Elon's favorite memes.
God. Now, whatever this 25 days is counting down to, I hope we actually see something on it. I hope it's not just we see this 25 days and then we're like sitting here around July 9th like, what's going on?
What was it? Something important was happening. We don't know though. Yeah. So exciting stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
You know what would be cool? If it actually was filmed a few days ago and that timeline is July 4th.
Oh, I see some rockets glaring. I don't know if they'd do anything on July 4th. Nah. I feel like Elon would probably let his employees have a break on Christmas, New Year's, and the 4th of July.
Either way, though. But I mean, talk about a big firework.
Dude, totally. Especially if it went boom. I really hope it doesn't go boom. Well, actually, just on the 28th here in a couple weeks, at the end of June, is Elon's birthday. So maybe it's an early birthday candle for himself. He's getting his cake ready. And he'll be turning 50, so happy birthday, Elon, in the future.
He's 50. Jeez.
Elon's party needs to be pretty exciting, though. Last I checked, you only have your 50th birthday once. And thanks. I'm getting good at these transitions. I'm becoming a professional. Look at me. Elon's birthday needs to be really memorable and exciting. And in order to have a really memorable and exciting birthday, it needs to be at a memorable venue. It can't just be at a park with a barbecue if this is such an important day.
It's got to be kind of high class, right?
Yeah, I think they're going to be pretty high class. They're probably going to have a bar involved, maybe some windows, I'd imagine, and not the computer kind, the physical kind. All right, we're beating around the bush. We're just having way too much fun with this transition. High Bar, which Elon has talked about openly back in January. He confirmed that High Bar exists and will be made, but it's back in the news. It's coming into fruition at this point. Yep. So for those who weren't aware, like myself, I didn't know of the existence of High Bar until like a week and some change ago.
Oh, really?
It totally blew my mind.
I did not know that. Yeah, I did not know that.
I had no clue that this was even... I knew about the SN1 flap restaurant that they were doing, but I had no idea that High Bar was going in. And when I saw that, my jaw went... So, what they're going to do... Elon has said that they really want to bring a public engagement and stuff down to Starbase. He's all for public spaces in and around Starbase. So because of that, they're opening up a restaurant, just like a standard restaurant that you can go in and eat whatever you want, whenever you want. No prerequisites or anything, just a standard restaurant across the street or somewhere around Starbase. I'm not exactly sure of the physicality of it, but it's going to have the SN1 flaps on it. It actually is already kind of halfway built. Because of COVID, obviously they haven't opened it or anything, but hopefully at some point soon they'll start working on that. But basically, that restaurant will be a place for the community to go and enjoy the amazingness of Starbase, just nice and conveniently right there. Now, what I didn't realize was Elon was also talking about High Bar, which is, as the name might suggest, inside of High Bay. And not just inside of High Bay, higher above High Bay, the High Bar.
Yes.
They're setting a real high bar for high class in the High Bay. So basically, the very top floor of High Bay is now enclosed with glass, and so it's now no longer part of outside like it was, just blowing around. It's now inside, and they're going to build a really nice size, probably venue up there. I'd have to guess it's not just going to be a bar, and it's going to be an event space for sure. Now, Elon said because of security reasons, High Bar is not going to be open to the general public. There will be some kind of requirements to get in. Likely you're going to have a background check because it is like an active Starship production facility. Like, they're going to have glass windows on the floor of High Bar, looking down in High Bay. So you'll be able to drink your martini or whatever and look down and look at Starship, like just feet below you underneath this glass being assembled. That is going to be legitimately one of the coolest things ever.
Yeah. And
it's coming soon. So evidently, we already have the windows installed. They just did some lighting testing over the last week. And so they have like a bunch of RGB lighting. So they have red and blues and all that stuff. So like it looks like they're installing stuff and building it out on the inside. And I would not be surprised if this is done before the SN20 flight, where they can have, their kind of VIP, area, before and after the test. Obviously, you can't be that close. That's inside the exclusion zone during the test.
Yeah.
But at least they can have some, who's who meet and greets there.
Do you know,
High Bar on my bucket list. Go ahead.
Do you know how tall the High Bay is right now?
Right now, I think it's like 120 meters, like 700 feet, something like that. Let me look it up.
So I mean, I looked it up, and it's like I'm not sure if this is. I think this is trying to give me space, like Starship type.
Okay, 390 feet is what 120 meters is, which makes sense.
But I think that is the Starship height.
Is that Starship?
Yeah, that's what it was pulling up for me. So search SpaceX High Bay height, and it's pulling up Starship on SpaceX from the first overview listing on Google. While you're looking for that, the reason I'm asking that is
it's 115 feet tall.
115 feet tall. Okay. So, in Memphis, Tennessee, we have the Memphis Pyramid, which is a Bass Pro. That's 322 foot tall.
Oh wow!
But you have a glass floor that you can walk down across. But that is kind of, you're also looking down straight onto the actual side of the pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
In High Bay, you're going to be looking down at either an empty High Bay or a High Bay with a Starship in it.
Ooh. Oh, that would be so surreal.
Dude, I mean, jeez.
Like, I'm sorry, this article I'm looking at, this says 115 feet. It looks like it's from July of 2020, so almost a year ago.
That might be mid-bay.
It might be mid-bay, honestly. But I think at the time they're calling it high bay. 'Cause it does look like mid-bay.
Yeah.
From the pictures of it being erected here. So I don't know, actually. I'd imagine it looks more on the scale of... It fits a whole BN booster inside of it.
Yeah.
So... What is that, like 200 feet or something? Plus the Starship, which is like 160 feet.
Yeah. So we'll say at least 200 foot tall. We'll say that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, at least 200 feet tall.
Either way,
I will agree with that.
It's massive, and it gives you a better view of what you're actually standing on top of than the Memphis Pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
I just went up there for the first time a few days ago, and it's
cool.
Kind of crazy.
Was it worth it?
Depending on which side of the viewing platform you're on. One side, the river side, has a lot of wind, and it's nice and cool. The downtown side is not so much. It's very, very hot. Very hot.
Ooh. Good to know.
Being that it was also 95 degrees in Memphis on Sunday, I was like,
ooh.
Dude, it was like 70 3 days ago.
Ooh. Ouch.
So.
Ouch. I'm very sorry to hear that. Yeah, so the last little piece of high bay information, someone asked Elon how they'd get up to high bay. Sorry, how they get up to high bar on high bay. Elon said a cannon and then a base jumping parachute. So...
Okay, what is this?
Throwing that out there.
Is this Roadrunner?
I don't know.
Wile E. Coyote?
It kind of feels like Wile E. Coyote. Yeah, it feels like. But if there's anyone who will do that, it's Elon. So I'm not holding my breath for it, but I think it'll be kind of funny when obviously they'll have an accessible elevator.
I mean,
inside,
he's hired
like,
a water tower company to build the original Starship tests.
True.
What would be the difference if he hired a carnival to shoot people up to high bar?
Yeah, totally. Wouldn't that be so cool? Like ride a slingshot up and then base jump down.
God.
Like that'd be kind of cool. Hopefully your shoot works and hopefully you can aim. But yeah, so anyway, that'd be kind of funny. But that's the last little piece of high bar info.
Well, if the parachute fails, maybe you just need a really, really large net to catch everybody, and we need something really big to hold a really large net, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, nets are kind of heavy, and if we're gonna have like some net propped up behind the high bar so it can catch people, I think we're gonna need a big crane.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to say, last news item of the week, which I know this is getting up to be a long show now, but I'm so glad there's so much to talk about. The Franken crane has finally arrived in its final form. We are so thrilled as a community. I could not be more proud of this community. Franken crane, for those who don't know, is the gargantuan crane down in Starbase.
Yes.
Pulling up the name here. It is a Libar LR 11350 crane. It is a commercially available crane. The Libar is a big crane company. Basically, they make the cranes that build the big pieces of infrastructure around the world. So any like huge bridge, any kind of huge oil rig, any kind of like really big piece of infrastructure is going to use one of these larger cranes. And this is one of their larger models, the 11350. Now you might wonder, why is it called the 11350? Well, that's because, I don't know why they call it that actually, because they can lift 1350 tons. So this one crane at max capacity can lift 1,350 tons. Now, that's kind of out of context. I didn't really understand how big that was. I mean, it sounds like a lot, right? But
Sure.
How big is 1,350 tons? Well, that works out to be 2.7 million pounds. 2.7 million pounds that this crane can lift in one go. Okay? Now let's put that number into perspective, because that sounds like a lot, but I can't really visualize 2.7 million. You know how big a Falcon 9 is?
Yes.
Yeah. You know how heavy a Falcon 9 is at the launch pad when it's ready to go?
No, I actually
1.2
don't.
million pounds. 1.2 million pounds. So that means that this one Franken crane can lift two fully fueled, on the pad, ready to lift off Falcon 9s at once and still have about 300,000 pounds to spare, give or take. Yeah. This is a crane. Now, I didn't tell you how tall this crane is, because all of that would not be very impressive if you could only lift it a couple inches, because I feel like I might be able to do that given a big enough lever. I would say that this is also probably one of the largest cranes that I've ever heard of. Its max height is 220 meters. 220 meters
God.
is 722 feet. Okay?
Jeez.
The first SN6 flight test only went 150 meters. That was a 150 meter hop. So this crane will be able to this crane is able to bring two fully fueled, on a launch pad, ready to lift off Falcon 9s to a height higher than the first SN6 flight test ever made it.
Jeez.
It's an absolutely enormous crane.
Golly.
So that's just some scale. Now let's talk about Franken crane specifically. Franken crane is obviously the loving name that we gave it because it is a bunch of different colors. This crane is designed to be configured on site, and so basically it's all fits inside of Connex boxes, and so they're able to ship this crane around the world, and obviously I think they have more than one in the world right now, but you're able to ship it around fairly easily. Anyone that can move a Connex box can also kind of move this crane, which is kind of handy. That means, though, that it's kind of in different segments, and the crane is designed to be able to adapt to the situation it needs to be used for. So if they need to go really high and like really far out, then they have the correct, a different kind of like arm configuration for it. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 arm configurations, and one is by far taller than the other ones by at least a couple hundred feet. And finally, we've seen a few of these different configurations of Franken crane before, but finally we've now seen the fully configured Franken crane, and it lifted up the 4th tower segment just the other day. So this crane is absolutely mental.
It's ridiculous at how large this thing is. Like, I mean, you look at this image that shows the different configurations, and you don't get the scale of it. But if you were to stand beside the tracks that this thing has, it's taller than you. And you're how tall?
Way taller.
And you're how tall?
Probably, I'm like 1,800 meters tall. But that's just me. No, it's like those tracks are like the size of a house. Don't quote me on that, but I think the tracks are at least like 20 feet tall.
It's ridiculous.
And it's a movable crane.
Yeah.
Like, it's designed to pick up a payload and like move. It's huge.
Massive.
Absolutely massive.
As Nick writes down his new timestamp that he's going to edit on.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. It's going to be the most highly produced space podcast in months. Yeah. Man. This is a crane. So this crane specifically is going to have a few different purposes. Number one, the reason why they needed this crane is obviously they're building the launch tower. The launch tower is really, really tall. We don't have a final height yet, because they're still kind of building it. We have the 4th segment installed, so now we have 4 segments stacked. We have a 5th one on site, ready to be lifted, probably within the next 24 hours. And then we also have a 6th segment still at the build site that looks like it's pretty much done. So it's only supposed to be 6 segments tall. So hopefully within the probably next time we do this show, we'll have the fully stacked tower. And that tower is likely going to be around 600 to 700 feet tall, if I had to guess. And so that's what this crane is doing. It's allowing them to be able to build this really tall tower. Now, for the first few tests, they're also going to have some pretty honking cranes to be able to actually configure and mount and integrate the Starship to the big booster. And I think that this is definitely it's gonna look at the 50-ton Starship and just be like, whatever. Is this? Am I even doing anything?
This is a warm up for my warm up, man.
This is me getting out of bed in the morning. This isn't even a warm up. 50 tons compared to 1,350 tons. Like, God. Literally 1,300 tons of available capacity after you lift the empty Starship. So yeah, this crane has tons of capacity, and I imagine they're going to keep this crane around for a long time, because I've seen some rumors of them building a 2nd orbital tower at some point. Probably not soon, but at some point they're thinking about it. You know, they're going to want to build out the starbase as much as possible, and this big crane is very, very, very flexible with those 7 different configurations that I just showed in that screenshot that I definitely remembered to put up in the show. They can configure this crane into different needs. Like if they need a longer reach or a better, balanced crane, they have all of these different configurations that they can put it into. So I think Franken crane is going to be here for a long time. And I'm really excited because this thing is enormous. It's like crazy. 2 fully fueled at the pad Falcon 9s and 300,000 pounds of extra whatever. Like 300,000 pounds is a lot, guys. Like 300,000 pounds is like whole lot.
Yeah, like
that's crazy.
Just another thing to put into perspective. You need counterweight for what you're lifting. This thing has another arm on the back of it that's the size of a normal sized crane when you think of it, just to hold the counterweight for this stuff.
Yep.
It's massive.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
So.
And yeah, it's I think we've said it's crazy enough times for this show, but
Probably.
This crane is mental, okay? The most British accent I can muster. This is so mental. Ugh. Gosh. My goodness. All right. I think that was it on the notes. Do you have any closing thoughts, Mr. DJ?
One short little thing. ULA's rocket ship, which is their boat that carries their rockets down to the Cape,
Oh, yes.
It is getting loaded with their Atlas V that is going to take the first crewed flight tests of Starliner. So
Nice.
that's going down to the pad sometime in the next week or so, whenever that finally arrives. But that's, of course, got to go up north to get to the Mississippi from Alabama, and then down, and then around Florida, and then back. So it's got a little bit of ways to go, so it'll probably be about a week or so before that actually gets there. But that was just a little quick thing.
Well, hopefully we can clear up the traffic jam at the ISS before they try to do another test.
I mean, they're still waiting to test one. Now they're taking another rocket down for a second test. So.
Oof. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, guys. Been great having you. Hopefully you'll tune in next time we do this show. Thanks for coming, DJ. Appreciate it. We'll see you guys next week. Bye. Or Godspeed. That's what I say. Godspeed. Bye.